A very welcome to Africa Today. I am Peace Ogenegbawe. First, let's talk the headlines. On the headlines, UNESCO wraps up GMIL Week. Infants others killed in Liberia canoe tragedy. Rwanda sets up Ebola prevention booth. And on sport, under-23 Eagles defeat Tanzania. Now the news in detail. Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari has advised the Nigerian security establishment and entire citizens to continue being vigilant and careful with security, saying it is important to avoid panic. In a message, the president urged citizens to remain calm, adding that the recent changes in travel advice from the US and UK government should not be a cause for panic. The president assured citizens that adequate measures are in place to foil any attempt by terrorists to jeopardize the peace being enjoyed in the FCT and other parts of the country. Buhari noted that since the July prison raid, security measures have been reinforced in and around the FCT, as he stressed that governments will not relent in this effort to secure lives and properties. The president stressed that responsible members of the society do not create situations leading to unnecessary panic. However, he commended the military and other security agencies for the recent turnaround in the nation's security, as he expressed optimism that given the ongoing efforts on the part of the military and other security intelligence agencies with active support of the civilian population, the nation will emerge victorious against the current challenges facing it. The 11th edition of the United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organization, that is UNESCO's Global Media and Information Literacy Week, with the theme Nurturing Trust, a Media and Information Literacy Imperative, has come to a close with a message to stakeholders to be worthy ambassadors of the profession in the face of new media emergence. Hills TV Abuja correspondent Udwak Daniel tells us more.
The UNESCO Global Media and Information Literacy Week has come to an end, with stakeholders seeking out ways to revive trust in media literacy across the world. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, speaks about this information.
The deliberate spread of falsehood is often with the sole intent to cause discord or harm and stir civil strife in the polity.
Fake news, if not well managed, could lead to war, according to Isa Pantami, Minister of Communication and Digital Economy.
Disinformation or fake news could be the source of the Third World War globally, if care is not taken.
Assistant Director General Communication and Information, UNESCO, Taufik Jalasi, comments on new media efficacy.
We need to work with partners to bring about worldwide development of media and information literacy.
The high point of the event came with the UNESCO Abuja Declaration.
Global Media and Information Literacy Week 2022, we're standing with UNESCO for change. For all to build trust is a must.
In all, the power of media in shaping the narrative of information gathering and delivery is essential to nation building, hence the need to think before you click. Udwak Daniel, Hills TV.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, that is INEC, has rejected calls for the reordering of the sequence of the 2023 general elections. The National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, INEC, Festus Okoye, made this known in an interview with correspondents on Sunday. A civil society group, Conference of Civil Society of Nigeria, had on Saturday called on the Commissioner to reorder the election sequence. The group said the 2023 polls should start with the governorship elections and not the presidential election as contained in INEC's timetable, noting that the reordering of the election sequence is necessary to avoid any disruption that might arise from the conduct of the presidential poll. In response to this, Okoye said INEC does not and will not on any account share its constitutional and legal powers with any individual, group, or organization. He also said by the provision of sections 132, subsection 1 and 178, subsection 1 of the Constitution, an election to the office of the President and Governor shall be held on a date to be appointed by the Independent National Electoral Commission in accordance with the Electoral Act, sections 132 and subsection 2 and section 178, subsection 2 of the same Constitution. This makes it mandatory that an election to the said offices shall be held on a date not earlier than 150 days and not later than 30 days before the expiration of the term of office of the last holder of that office. The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, that is NAFDAC, has countered claims that Nigeria children were being administered with a vaccine that contained 40% mercury, which was prescribed by foreign organizations. The agency made this known in a press statement signed by its Director General, Mojisola Adeyeye, which was made available by the agency's resident media consultant, Shayo Akintola, on Sunday. There have, however, been reports on some media platforms stating that multi-dose vaccine containing 40% of mercury, banned about 30 years ago in Europe and over 20 years ago in America, are still being applied to Nigerian children's body. NAFDAC has, however, said mercury is a metal and it is not used as an element or as component of vaccines. We now move to news from other parts of West Africa, but that will be after this break. Just stay with us. Welcome back. And now let's get to Liberia, where at least 8 people, including a mother and her 2-month-old baby, has died after a canoe capsized in a river in Liberia's northeastern Nimba County over the weekend. Rescue workers on Monday said they were not hopeful of recovering the infant's body. Also speaking, the local district commissioner, Jefferson Saye-Gonda, said the possibility of finding the baby's body was slim. 7 of the bodies were retrieved from the Yar River and hastily buried near the river, according to local authorities. The dead were among 18 persons returning from their farm in a dug-out canoe that capsized in the middle of the river. 10 people managed to swim to shore. The local town Zanboy has remained tense, with grief-stricken people from nearby and distant towns coming in to help with search and rescue efforts and consoling the bereaved. And away from that story, troops participating in a West African Joint Military Force claim to have killed an estimated 20 rebel fighters in Lake Chad Basin. The Multinational Joint Task Force, a coalition of militaries of Cameroon, Chad, Nigeria, and Niger, on Sunday said between April 27 and 29, at least 20 terrorists were neutralized despite strong resistance. A senior MJTF official confirmed that neutralized meant killed, adding that the operation took place in Cameroon and in Nigeria. The coalition launched a new offensive in March that aimed to completely destroy Boko Haram and other terrorist groups which plague the basin. The senior official said in a statement on Saturday that the aerial support provided by Nigerian and Nigerian forces allowed the coalition to carry out aggressive patrols against terrorist positions in Tambon Rago, the Nigerian state of Borno State. More than 36,000 people have also been killed so far, mainly in Nigeria, and 3 million people have been forced to flee their homes because of the fighting, according to the United States. We now move to stories from other parts of Africa after this break. Just stay with us. Welcome back. Rwanda said he's had a good discussion with the UN Secretary General about de-escalating the situation in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Kagame disclosed this in a tweet posted on Monday. The African Union has expressed its extreme concern at the deteriorating security situation and immediate cessation of fighting. Conflict has been raging in the region for months between the DRC army and the M23 rebels, who seized 2 more towns over the weekend. The situation has prompted the DR Congo government to expel Rwanda's ambassador to Kinshasa, a decision Rwanda has noted with regret. Kinshasa has repeatedly accused Rwanda of supporting M23, an accusation Kigali has always denied. Still in Rwanda, authorities say they've set up an Ebola prevention booth at the Katuna border crossing with Uganda. Consoli Niwe Mahoro, member of the Outbreak Prevention Unit, said at least 60 people showed potential symptoms of Ebola, such as fever, but after testing and quarantine, no one tested positive for this disease. He added that anyone who crosses the border is invited to have their temperature taken, and if they have symptoms, they are placed in quarantine room before being transported to a hospital. John Gilbert, a Kenyan citizen crossing the border, said he has very little information about Ebola.
I have little information about Ebola because from where I'm coming, people are not scared about Ebola. We just heard it is in Kenya, in some parts of Uganda, but not at the Busia border. So me passing through, I was just comfortable since I need some outskirts part of Uganda. We are not even passing through, so we are not even scared. Yeah.
This soon. Yeah, but it's scary. But what can we do? We have to look for work and we have to cross borders. And you have to believe you will be okay at the end of the day.
Uganda declared an outbreak of the Sudan strain of Ebola on September 20. It's time for business news on Africa Today. Let's get there after this break. Just stay with us. Welcome to Business News on Africa Today. The Central Bank of Nigeria is expected to have destroyed over 6 trillion naira worth of mutilated and old banknotes when the regime of Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari expires in May 2023. Already, data obtained from the annual report of the Currency Operations Department of CBN between 2016 and 2020 show that the Apex Bank destroyed mutilated banknotes worth 4.1 trillion naira during the 5-year period. However, the central bank is expected to destroy over 80% of the 3.23 trillion naira banknotes currently in circulation as a result of its decision to redesign 100 naira, 200 naira, 500 naira, and 1,000 naira bills. The move will bring the total amount of naira notes destroyed by the current administration to at least 6 trillion naira. Central Bank of Nigeria's Governor, Godwin Emefiele, said the bank would release redesigned notes by December 15, 2022. And according to the CBN Governor, the move is aimed at controlling currency in circulation as well as curbing counterfeit currency and ransom payments to kidnappers and terrorists. Commercial drivers under the aegis of Joint Drivers Welfare Association of Nigeria, that is JD1, have vowed to commence its proposed 7-day strike starting today as its meeting with the Lagos state government ended in deadlock. JD1's national leader, Akintade Abiodun, who disclosed this, said some representative of the association met with the permanent secretary, Ministry of Transportation, Abdulafiz Toriola, and Parks Management Liaison Office, Akim Odumosu, in the company of JD1's legal advisor, Ayo Ademiluyi. He said the essence of the meeting, which took place over the weekend, was defeated as the drivers received threatening messages. According to JD1, the cost of transportation affects the cost of goods and services and consequently the cost of living, which has spiraled astronomically in Lagos State as a result of effect of motor parks, excessive and legal ticketing and tolling at almost every bus stop. The group alleged that its members lost half of their income to motor parks ticketing, stating that they got arrested whenever they refused to pay the ticket. In what will be described as half-hour address broadcast on Sunday, Ghanaian President Nana Akufo-Addo addressed the nation to explain the raft of measures its government will be taking to see its way out of financial turmoil, including measures to support domestic production. According to Akufo-Addo, the country is currently undergoing financial crisis, which has compelled the Accra government to break with a 3-year strike from demanding aid from the IMF. Among these measures, Nana Akufo-Addo announced a 30% cut in budgeted discretionary expenditures and salaries of the president, vice president, ministers, deputy ministers, and political office holders.
We are in a crisis. I do not exaggerate when I say so. I cannot find an example in history when so many malevolent forces have come together at the same time. But as we have shown in other circumstances, we should turn this crisis into an opportunity to resolve not just the short-term urgent problems, but the long-term structural problems that continue to bedevil our economy. We've gone to the fund to repair in the short term our public finances and restore our balance of payments, whilst we continue to work.
The rise of the COVID-19 pandemic ushered in an era of disillusionment. Growth slowed and money borrowed in the markets became increasingly high, leading to these. We now move to sport news after this timeout with Richard Badung. Stay with us.
Very good afternoon to you and welcome to Sport News on Africa Today. I'm Richard Badung. Nigerian Football Federation President Ibrahim Gusau, alongside Atlanta Olympics' historic achievements at the just concluded Under-17 Women's World Cup in India. Flamingos claimed the bronze medal at the Under-17 Women's World Cup in India on Sunday after defeating Germany 3-2 on penalties. It's the biggest achievement by the country at that level of football, having only managed a quarter-final finish since the competition began in 2008. The Nigerians were up 3-0, but the Germans staged a dramatic comeback late on to tie the losers' final 3-3. The game went into penalties afterwards, and the Flamingos were lucky this time around after losing to Colombia through the shootout lottery in the semi-finals. In a relative development, Super Eagles captain Ahmed Musa has gifted Nigeria's Under-17 women's national team, the Flamingos, a sum of 3 million naira for winning the bronze medal at the Under-17 Women's World Cup in 2 via penalties, like we told you earlier, in the third-place match after the full-time score ended 3-3 in Mumbai on Sunday. And away from that sporting story to other sporting matters, as we get to tell you still on the African scene, that from all indications, Nigeria Women Football League and WAFUB champions Bayelsa Queens will today face Mamelodi Sundowns, Nigeria-South Africa rivalry as far as women's football is concerned in Africa. Bayelsa Queens and Mamelodi Sundowns are drawn in Group B, which also has a record-time winner of the Egyptian Wadi Degla and TP Mazembe. While Sundowns are coming into the second edition as defending champions, Bayelsa Queens also have qualified for the tournament with an impressive record after winning the WAFU B zonal qualifiers in Abidjan, Ivory Coast. And that sports story wraps up sport news on Africa Today. Back to Peace Ogenegbawe for the rest of the news. I am Richard Badung.
Thank you, Richard Badung, and that's Africa Today. But before we go, here are the headlines again. We told you that UNESCO has wrapped up the Global MIL Week. Infants and others have been killed in Liberia canoe tragedy. From Rwanda, there's been a setup of Ebola booth to prevent the disease. And on sport, Under-23 Eagles has defeated Tanzania. Remember to visit us on Facebook and Instagram at Hills TV. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Hills TV. I am Peace Ogenegbawe. Thank you for watching.